Howdy folks, Troy with Three Twins, the V8s. I'm back with another project. What we have here is a Toyota Land Cruiser, also known as an FJ40. This one here happens to be a 79 model. Really nice. I'm doing this one for a client. It's only got 20,000 miles on it. What my client has asked is that we convert his manual steering to power steering. So he's obtained all these parts from a specialty vendor, and we're going to go ahead and do that conversion. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do the whole conversion. I did jump a little bit ahead, and I did remove the manual steering box. So I will bring the camera over and I'll show you where we're at here. I'll show you the parts we have. I'll show you the parts that we took off and kind of catch you up to where we're at here. And then we'll work on putting the steering box in, the pump, the lines, and getting everything all set so the power steering system will be functional. Okay, so here's the power steering box we have removed from the vehicle. Over here, I'll show you a view down through the inside of the engine compartment. The steering box sits right down in this area over here below this master cylinder. This is the steering shaft, where the steering's connected to it. So I removed the bolts from the rag joint that connects the steering shaft to the steering box, and then I removed the steering shaft that goes from here over to where the pitman arm is and the box was over here. This will make a little bit more sense to you once I get the other one in. So right now I'm wide open. I've got a brand new box that I'm going to drop onto these studs in here, and then we're going to work on getting the steering box connected, and then the next thing we'll do after that is work on the lines and the power steering pump. I'm going to show you the parts we have here. So what we have is we have a factory power steering box. It's been remanufactured. You can see these are the lines that go onto the pump. This is the pump itself, some bracketry, a brand new rag joint here, a couple of power steering hoses, and a belt. One will be the fan belt, one will be the power steering belt. I removed the pitman arm off of our original power steering box to go back on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this steering box up into place. Well, first I'm going to put this rag joint onto the steering box here. Once I get that on, then I'm going to put the steering box in place and get the steering connected, the steering shaft connected to this, and then I can work on the inside of the vehicle. I'll show you what I've done on the inside. For clearance reasons, I had to loosen up these bolts on the bottom of this steering column, and this gasket, this bracket here that supports the steering box. The reason I had to loosen that was to move this steering column back a little bit to allow the removal of the steering box, because that shaft drops over these pins and it has to slide back enough to get it off. This will make a little bit more sense once I start getting this together. So first thing, I'm going to put the rag joint on the steering box, and then I'm going to put the steering box in the truck. I've got my rag joint and I'm ready to install this. So if you look at this rag joint, you're going to see that there's some splines on the inside, and then there's a pinch bolt that goes through this. That pinch bolt is going to line up with this flat that is on the steering box right here. So if you look at it, that's where it's got to be located. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this spot and we're going to line it up with this flat. So there's your flat. There's your open spot on the thing, on the rag joint. We're going to slide this on right here and center it so it's just like that. If you do not do that, your bolt will not be able to go through here and thread in to the other side. So that's a good tell. If you get this thing on here and you're in the wrong spot, your bolt isn't going to go in here. So I'm going to get this in here, get it tightened up. Then I'm going to bring the steering box over into the truck and see if I can get it into position. This steering box has this angle to the mounting area. So if you look at this angle and you look at the way the steering box is pointed, you can see what I'm talking about. This is the original manual steering box. I've got pretty much the same angle, but if you look at the mounting is virtually horizontal. So in this particular kit, they give you this mounting bracket that's going to mount to the frame and then put your steering box on that angle. Unfortunately, we have a bracket that's already on the frame from the factory. I'm going to show you that. So this is our factory bracket here that's on the frame. And if you look closely, you can see where it's riveted to the frame in 4 spots. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to grind those rivets off and remove this bracket so that we can put the other bracket on that goes with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a grinding wheel. I'm going to cut these rivets off. I'm going to remove this bracket and I'm going to knock these rivets out of here. I'll show you what we have afterwards. Okay, so what I've done here is I've replaced this bracket that was on here with the bracket that comes in the kit. You can see how it changes the angle of the steering box. So I ground off the rivets that hold this on and then drilled them out and knocked them out. It's a bit of a bitch, but it's done. So now I've got this new bracket on here. I got my bolts in here. I'm gonna sock this down nice and tight. Then I'm going to set my steering box up in here, and then we should be in pretty good shape.